Welcome everyone to my how-to video on completing your evaluation 2. So this is a memo, and it's the second of these, so it's very similar to the one you've already done about 7014. And as you can see, I've pushed the deadline so that evaluation memo 2 is due about the time that you are finishing Portfolio 2G, because I want to be able to get your full assessment of how the group has worked together during the entirety of your group project, including through revision. Okay, so if you scroll on down to the bottom of the opening part of our Moodle page and this assignment deadlines here, this will kind of show you the order of our deadlines. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, at this point I have Portfolio 2G and the evaluation memo for your second group project due the same day. That way you can talk about not only drafting and peer review and but also revising and revising again for your project. Okay. All right. So to talk about what you're supposed to write in this, go ahead and click on week 8 and scroll down, and underneath the submission deadline for evaluation memo 2 is an outline. And so this is very similar to what you did for the evaluation memo 1. Okay, so notice that this is still supposed to be to your pretend boss, Alex Nostrovia, but it's from you because you're the one writing it. So this should be your name. Put the current date in there, and you can leave this as a subject line, but make sure you can differentiate, you know, this evaluation memo from evaluation memo 1. Okay, so a lot of this is very similar to what you've already done. The criteria of what you are evaluating is the same. So have an opening, a middle, and a closing, but the key difference between this memo and the previous one is its purpose. The purpose of evaluation memo 1 was to think about under what circumstances you would be willing to work with each individual again. And so it was kind of getting you to brainstorm ways to improve the group's dynamics going into 7015. Well, we are now done with 7015, so this evaluation memo cannot have the same purpose. So instead, the purpose of this memo, I would like for you to be able to reflect on how group dynamics affect the quality of the project. Okay, so that is the purpose. So that's what I want to feel you have answered by the end of this memo, okay, by using the case study of your group. And you can talk about both 7014 and 7015 in this for your evidence. Okay, so you'll see that this purpose is reflected in the structure of the memo outline. So opening paragraph, go, and this is a reflection, so you can use I. So go ahead and just kind of talk for a few sentences about how you feel about the members of your team, how well you think they work together. And then you can introduce, to what degree did the end results meet your expectations. So this is kind of already introducing our overall topic. So this would be kind of like your thesis. To what degree did the end results of the documents, so the internal communication, the proposal, the slideshow, even the request for proposal and all that, did they meet your expectations? Do you feel satisfied with the quality of work that your team produced? And you can be honest. You can say, I'm pretty satisfied, but I wish that X, Y, or Z had happened as well. So I'm going to be looking for complex ideas. This is not one of those things where I'm just looking for everybody to be happy. Middle. Okay, so for your middle body paragraphs, just like with evaluation memo 1, you need to have a body paragraph for each member of your team other than you, in which you talk about the 3 topics for evaluation, and that is how well or how often they contribute ideas. Were their ideas like interesting, or were they just kind of silly and waste of time? Did they support learning? So did they help explain something, or deepen the group's understanding of a skill or a concept that we were working on, or the purpose of a section. And then how good were they about contributing work? Did they do the minimum of what they were asked to do? Did they go above and beyond? Did they slack? Did people have to make up for what was assigned to them and they didn't perform it? Um, so um, so based on the three criteria, what is the person's strengths or weaknesses? This is the same premise that you use for evaluation one. So yeah, just what I would recommend doing is draft the evidence first. So describe this person in each of these three topics, okay? Don't just pick and choose, cover each one. And it's okay to say, I have no idea, right? Like, they didn't show up or they were really quiet or whatever. So be honest, and that's good. So draft your evidence, and then that should give you the information you need in order to answer this question in your premise. What were their strengths and or weaknesses? Maybe they have all strengths, maybe they have all weaknesses, but probably most people have a blend of the two. So you can say, while, Sarah was really good at X, she probably needs to improve on Y. Okay? It's a lot easier to introduce or create a premise for evidence that already exists than it is to try to write a premise based off of content that doesn't exist yet. And then, this is the part that's going to be really different. So remember that the concluding thought of a paragraph connects the content of that paragraph to our overall purpose. And so, if our overall purpose is how did the group dynamic affect project quality, then you would, in your concluding sentence of this paragraph about Sarah, connect her contributions to the quality of the project. Okay, so you're answering, how did this person's contributions or lack thereof impact the quality of your group documents in positive as well as negative ways? So again, this concluding thought can be all positive, all negative, or probably a blend of both. Okay, so this is how you're going to make sure that this entire document is connected to that overall purpose. First, by having a thesis that kind of introduces the topic, and then each body paragraph will be connected to it by saying how this person and their contributions affected the project quality. Okay. And that will be very important for your closing paragraph. So remember that a closing paragraph is the accumulation of all of your smaller conclusions, adding up and equaling one overall conclusion. So if you have 4 or 5 paragraphs saying how each individual contributed to the quality or lack of quality in the group project, then you're better ready to explain how the group dynamic overall among all of these people affected the project quality. And you can talk about how like the group overcame the challenges of some people participating and others not, or some people understanding the content and others not. Or some people like, maybe your group wasn't really good at coming up with a variety of ideas. And maybe you can say like, maybe we didn't go with the best idea because everybody just went with the first idea they heard. Stuff like that. So the closing paragraph is probably going to be a little longer than the ones you usually write because I really want to see your thoughts overall. So try to touch on each of these topics that I have listed here. So the first sentence I have in the outline is simply the overall point, and you can begin the closing paragraph by answering this in a one-sentence summary. Overall, the group dynamic, and however you want to describe that group dynamic. The group dynamic was, really friendly, but maybe not as critical as I would have liked. That's an example. And then here's an interesting way to think about it. So for 7014 and 7015, you will need to revise these first submissions as a group for Portfolio 2G, but you can also decide that the revision of 2G is not up to your standards, and you can add your own revisions and submit it as part of Portfolio 2I, your individual portfolio. So this might be a good place to think about, okay, did the group revise for Portfolio 2 up to my standards? And if they didn't, are you thinking about revising the group documents yourself as well? and submitting them for a separate evaluation. So if the group revision into Portfolio 2G just isn't very good, or you think it should be better but no one will listen to you, you can totally say, hey, if I find the time, I'm going to revise 7014 and 7015 by myself as well because it isn't doing the things I want. You can say that in this concluding paragraph. And then try to cover in your closing paragraph each of the three topics. So how did the group's ability to contribute ideas affect the overall project quality? How did the group overall in supporting learning affect the project quality overall? And then how did the overall, like, everyone's ability to contribute work affect the quality overall? So you're trying to get basically a philosophy of what makes a good group project, or what group dynamics make for really good quality work. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, is some really sharp insights. Okay, and once you're done with that, you are ready to submit. Now, there is something I do want you to keep in mind. Now, the wiki page for Portfolio 2G asks you to turn this evaluation memo in as part of the group submission. I don't want you to do that because I want you to feel comfortable being honest in your assessments. And so I don't want you to submit the evaluation memo as part of the group project. You should be submitting evaluation memo 2 as its own submission. You should be the only one seeing it, you and me. Okay. So you and I should be the only ones seeing your evaluation memo. Okay, so don't turn it in as part of the group project. All right. So that's all there is to it. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about how group dynamics affect work quality. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or bring those to our virtual classroom. We're almost through the end of the class, so good luck.